welcome to GDQ ICT Honors. Today is May 6th, and you may be wondering why am I saying this? Because I'm recording it for Joshua. So I want to talk briefly to you about three different topics. I want to talk to you about CRUD. No, we're not discussing elephant droppings. We're discussing a database concept called CRUD. I want to talk to you about quotes. And I want to talk to you about your projects, okay? So let's talk about strings and quotes first. I've got a demonstration for you up here. Can everybody see that?
No, not very clear.
All right, what I say is $x equals quote world quote. I wonder if I can make this a little bit bigger. I should have.
You should be able to just stretch it, right, from the corners.
Yeah, but that's not going to make the text bigger. Trying to remember where that setting is. Settings window.
This is why you use that
Yeah. If you had it in that I mean that is the advantage. It's intuitive, and I've never tried to set the size of the things here, so I don't know exactly what it is.
In the background, still white.
What does Control Shift Plus do? I have a Control Plus.
Control Shift Plus, Control Plus, nothing. Okay. So anyway, I have a variable containing the word world, and then I say echo hello world, putting hello world within single quotes. Then I say echo hello world, the first time is within double quotes, the second time is within single quotes, and I'm using my variable $x as the word world. So it's hello comma $x, BR \n, and I'm saying the same thing once with double quotes around it and once with single quotes around it. And this is the result that we get. And this time I can do control equals so that you can see what comes up there.
It says \n there.
Yes, because there is a difference in PHP between double quotes and single quotes. In double quotes, it gets parsed for certain things. Variables, and it interpolates variables. That means it takes the variable name out and puts the value in, and also some of these special backslash characters or escaped characters. So you'll notice in the first one, everything looks hunky-dory. If I were to show you the source up here, it looks perfect, doesn't it? On that first line, hello world, BR in angle brackets, and then a return taking us to line 2. Whereas in the second line, first off, the $x does not get interpolated, it does not parse for it, and the \n just gets printed out as a \n. And so that is because of this issue, and I'm sorry, I guess you guys can't really see that, can you? But this right here is a double quote, this right here is a single quote.
Is the moral of the story always use double quotes?
Well, sometimes. It depends what it is you're looking for. Now, there are times when you want to have a quote within a string. Give me an example of when you might want to have a quote within a string.
When you want to use dollars?
When you want to use what?
The dollar sign for something else?
Okay, if you wanted to use dollar signs. Okay, let's say you wanted to say, echo, whatever, I like dollar signs. Okay, so I've said $SIGNS, and I want to see dollar signs. What's going to appear, since I've put that in dollar quotes? Okay, well just wait, let's do it one step at a time here, okay? What's going to happen since I put that in double quotes? I come back over here, let me put you back over here, I update it, and it says undefined variable signs, because...
How did you get a fancy table?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this like blue little screen.
I don't know. It's just my setup. I've got a very advanced form of PHP because I'm running it on WOMP. So I've got the most up-to-date version of PHP. I guess that's why I've got a fancy table. But anyway, undefined variable signs, because I've got that dollar signs within double quotes. If what I was really looking for was this, then I could come about a puppy. All right, then I can say I like dollar signs, and lo and behold, everything looks good. However, we've still got that \n up there, which is a problem. So in this case, here's how I can fix that. If I want to do something with one of these escape sequences, or if I wanted to do something with a variable, you can use concatenation to do it. You see what I've just done there? I said, I like $signs, BR, and then I closed off my single quote. I put in period to say concatenate this with another string, and then my second string is double quoted with a \n there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How that works?
You should just delete the \n, and I would also get rid of it.
So I come up here, yeah, and it wouldn't hurt anything. But you see I got rid of my \n by doing that. Now I could have, as Timmy was saying, I could have said, used double quotes here. So I'm putting everything back in double quotes. But instead of doing a $signs here, I would say, oops, $signs. And that says the $sign, not $signs, but the dollar character itself is no longer special. It's no longer magic. Don't treat it as the beginning of a variable. And so now, when I save it and I come up, voila, it comes up. You don't see any change because it was working before, but I did it a different way that still works. See how that works? Question, Tristan.
When doing \n, print the \n up there too.
With
Double negation?
With double quotes.
within double quotes. Let's go ahead and try it. All right. So I'm going to say \n, and you're exactly right, because what you've done is you've made the / no longer magic. You said this is just by escaping a magic character, you make it not magic. And so now we're saying, go ahead and print me a / followed by the n. And you've done that. Okay? Now, again,
three backslashes.
okay, think about it. What's it going to do?
It'll negate the second backslash, and then it will use an actual backslash.
Exactly. You're going to get a / followed by a new line. Because the first / is no longer, it's just a regular / because the / got backslashed. All right? But now we've got a \n, and the \n is magic.
So there's an odd amount of backslashes, you will get the new line. And if it's an even amount of backslashes.
No. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that so you can see what it looks like. If I do a third one here, and then come here, now we get an enter. Excuse me, the BR is what's confusing us. Let me get rid of the BR so that that's not confusing us. Okay? Oh, but then you won't see what it's doing. There's no way to do this. Okay, I've got to do it with reveal source. All right? So, here's what you've got. Now you've got I like $signs, BR, and then a / followed by a new line, right? Because it was \, which equals \, and then \new line, which equals new line. Now let's go and put in a fourth /
Even number.
So we've got an even number now, which I believe will be \, equals \, equals \, followed by an n. Let's see if that's what comes up. So now we've got \, so 2 became 1, 2 became 1, and then we had an n. What do we do when we see an n? We print an n. Nothing magic about that. And so it comes out. And we could continue going up there. If we put a fifth, then we would have back becomes back becomes back end becomes new line. And it goes on like this. Okay? So the computers can take this kind of very complicated thing, and we're sitting there counting them out and doing all this stuff. For a computer, it's just like, is it escaped or not? If it is, I print it. If I don't, it's not. And it's no big deal. All right? Now, let me go back to the question I asked a minute ago. When would you want to see a quote, either double quote or single quote, within a string? Have you done any example where you wanted to see quoted strings within an existing string? Tim?
HTML attributes.
Such as?
Such as table color.
Okay, table color. You say table, and then you say BG color equals, or color equals, and then you put the value in quotes. So if you were creating that within a string before you echoed it, then you would want that quote within your string. Christopher, another example.
When you do $_post, and you want to have those little, like if you want to, you can put your little.
Okay, you're doing something slightly different, which I'm going to get to in a minute, when you're dealing with the a hash kind of an array, like where you've got your columns. I'll deal with that in a second. The other time where you guys have dealt with it recently is if you said in your SQL, you said select where fname equals Peter, and you put all that SQL into a PHP string before you called the query,
Yeah.
okay? Peter has to be in quotes, but Peter is part of a string. So I have to create a string here.
Double quotes and then single quotes inside.
There you go. That's one way to do it. So I could do it like this. $SQL equals select lname from students where fname equals single quote Peter, single quote, double quote. Okay? And then I do my query. So again, to point out what I've got here, sorry Josh, I'm going to point on the board. All right, this is a double quote. This is a single quote. This is a single quote, and this is a double quote. A single quote inside a double quote is just another character. And so it's got no problems. It just says, all right, single quote, Peter, single quote. And if I were to echo that out, you would see single quote, Peter, single quote. If you were to do the query, it accepts that and it does that value. No problem whatsoever.
But if you have double quotes inside, it's a problem.
If you had double quotes inside, here, let's do this.
You have to do backslashes.
Okay, that's going to echo our SQL, and I'm going to put a BR after it. And I just did the BR with concatenation. Now let's do the same thing with double quotes inside. So I do this. So now I've got SQL equals double quote, select lname from students where fname equals double quote Peter, double quote, double quote. What's going to happen there?
There's quote here, and then quote there, before and after Peter.
All right, it's going to see SQL equals select lname from students where fname equals double quote, and that's a string for it. And then it's going to say, oh, that's funny, what's this capital P in Peter? I don't know anything about a name Peter. I don't know, I don't have any reserved word, any function, anything like that. And as soon as we do that,
There should be one now.
this is what's going to come up. All right?
Stuff. Parse error.
Parse errors, and you couldn't see it there, but it's because of my fancy stuff here.
Unexpected Peter.
Okay, unexpected Peter. That's how I come across to people often. All right? It doesn't know what to do with the name Peter because that's not the word while or if or something that PHP recognizes as something to do, nor is it the name of a variable, nor is it a concatenation operator. It's nothing. So it came to the end of its string, the double quote, and you meant to just keep on going within that, but it said no, you started with a double quote, so you end with a double quote. How could I have done it with double quotes inside of double quotes?
Escape character, right?
Say again?
An escape character dots on either side.
Okay, that's not an escape character.
Concatenation too, right?
That's concatenation.
Escape characters are concatenation, right?
Either escape character or concatenation. So let's construct that in both ways. If I take this and I go to my first double quotes, my inside double quotes, and I put an escape in front of them, a backslash in front of them, and then do this, then we end up with this. Select lname from Peter, from students where fname equals Peter, that's good. Or select lname from students where fname equals double quote Peter, double quote. And it just took away my escape character from in front of it. And everything's golden, right? How else could I have done it? Christopher, you said with concatenation. So I could have done, come on computer. I could have done it like this, where I say, how do I do it once I get there? I'll close off my quotes and then I'll concatenate and I'll do it with single quotes over here. So I said select lname from students where fname equals, and all that is within double quotes. Then I put a dot to concatenate and I create a new string inside single quotes. So it's single quote, double quote, Peter, double quote, single quote.
Escape characters are better.
Escape characters are much clearer in most cases. Okay? But concatenation may be simpler. Okay? Once again, that works by doing it with concatenation. I could have done something like this. Can you tell what I just did? You probably can't see it up there.
You just add more quotes.
Okay, I said double quote here, dot to single quote, double quote, single quote, dot to double quote, name, double quote, dot to single quote, double quote, single quote.
That's just a lot of dots.
It's just a lot of dots, it's a lot of quotes, but you get the idea. You've got to figure out a way to do this such that the double quotes and the single quotes within PHP all get parsed down and you end up with what you want. This is, after you've done it 1,000 times, it will be so natural to you, you won't have to think about it. Maybe after you've done it 5 times, it'll be natural to you. But inevitably, at some point or another, you're going to make a mistake with it. And the only way to find those mistakes is by using those debug statements to point out there, what is the actual SQL that I'm trying to query? Oh, this isn't right. This doesn't have the quotes where I expected it to be. Let me go back and look how I handled my quotes. I need to put an escape in. I need to change from double quotes to single quotes or something like that. Now, you need to know that escaping happens differently within single quotes than it does within double quotes. We've talked about the special characters that you have within...
Oh, it's always backslash. It's not always backslash?
Single quotes.
No, it's, escaping is always backslash. Okay? But within double quotes, we can do several different things. Backslash n is the most common one. Okay? Let me see if I can up this for you guys. So you can see what I've got. Oop, got to select
bigger
the
n now.
All right? So, backslash r is a... You run into this if you're doing DOS end of lines, because backslash r plus backslash n, that's how DOS does an end of line. I'm telling you that. You're going to bang your head against it at some point when you're doing something with DOS. Just be prepared. In Linux and the rest of the world, a new line is a single character, just the 13, ASCII 13, which is backslash n. In MS-DOS, they use a backslash r plus a backslash n. And you'll run up against it. It'll be very frustrating. Just be prepared for it. All right. You can do backslash t for a tab character. Backslash $sign becomes just a $sign. Backslash becomes just a backslash. Backslash double quote becomes just a double quote. And then there's also, you can say backslash 0 plus a number for octal numbers, or backslash x plus a number for hexadecimal. Within single quotes, on the other hand, you can only say backslash single quote or backslash backslash. Those are the only two things that work. So if you try to escape something else within single quotes, it'll just say, oh, you wanted me to print a backslash plus some other character? Okay.
You try these quotes right below the tilde, or on the same key as the tilde.
Yeah, what is that?
That's a back quote.
Back quote.
How do you write two?
Really not
numbers
used in
on
PHP. It may, but if it does, I've never used that particular syntax.
How
So
do you
back quotes are not
write
used.
2 slashes next to each other? 2 backslashes next to each
Four black.
Back.
Four or two.
other. 2
Well, do you want to do it within single quotes or within double quotes?
single quotes.
Single.
Then it would be backslash, single quote, backslash, single quote, backslash, single quote, single quote. Yeah, it's confusing. In that case, I would very definitely say double quote, single quote, double quote. All right, whenever I can, I just use the alternating double quote, single quote to make it easy. But if you want to put a single quote within a single quoted string, you can always say backslash single quote. And if you want to put a backslash within either a single quoted string or a double quoted string, you can always say backslash backslash. Okay? Good. Let me see if there's anything else that I'd written down that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Oh yeah, the difference between, this is what Christopher was saying. Sometimes you want to have an array, $A equals array ABC has the value of 1, and DEF has the value of 2.
So that's 2 elements?
2 elements, all right? And if I say print $A, we'll see what it is. Man, I should have done echo pre. Okay, now I do this, and you can see what the value is. This is what the array looks like, all right? It is indexed with a value of ABC, a string, not a numeric index, but a string index, so this is a hash.
Associative?
It's an associative array. Yeah, excuse me. Hash is actually the Perl word, the term for using it. Within PHP, you're supposed to call it an associative array. So thank you. This is an associative array rather than a numerically indexed array. So I'm using ABC to point to 1, DEF to point to 2. And normally, if I want to say echo $A and then in brackets ABC, I have to put it in quotes, right? So in my string, I'm going to say echo val of ABC is $A ABC. Now, do you see what the problem is going to be that comes up here? Can you see what I've done?
Looks red.
I said, yeah, that's because Vim, as my friend, is telling me, you didn't really mean to do that. You may want to go back and look at it.
What a nice program.
So it says the value of ABC, this is in double quotes, is $A, open bracket, single quote. So I've got single quotes within double quotes. We're good, right? Single quote, ABC, single quote, close square bracket, and then at the very end I put my double quote there. What's going to happen?
That doesn't show up as a variable.
All right, let's see what
As a
happens.
variable.
When I load this, okay, it says syntax error, unexpected single quote, expecting identifier, t-string, or variable, or number.
Why is that single quote? Why does that say
Double quote.
unexpected double quote?
Oh, maybe it's in, I don't know. It's what the problem is we are getting this value. I wish I had a bigger thing so you can actually see this. It is seeing $A, open bracket, and it is seeing single quote, A, B, C, single quote. And you say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, normally when you put this, the PHP parser says, oh, single quote, ABC, single quote. What you mean is a string of ABC. And so PHP will see A, B, C, close. And that is the index into the array. ABC is the index into the array, not single quote, ABC, single quote. There is no index into that array consisting of single quote, ABC, single quote.
So the single quotes are just unnecessary.
Well, in fact, they're not just unnecessary, they're causing us problems. Because we're putting them in the context of the string. And so the single quote stays there as a value. Just like, remember we said, where f name equals single quote, Peter single quote, and the single quote stayed there because we're within double quotes outside there? Well, these single quotes are staying here because we're within double quotes. And so the lesson that we get here is when we are within double quotes and we are accessing our associative array, we do not put those quotes in there. We do not want the quotes to stay. Just like the quotes stay in all of these cases, if we put the quotes in here, they will stay down here, and that will cause us problems. Instead, we want to leave them out so that the end result is this, where the value of ABC is 1. So you do not use quotes when you're already within a string. Now, yeah, I think just about everybody's gone glossy-eyed on it.
What about No, I get it.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's difficult. Be aware of that. When you are using an associative array, don't use the quotes if you're within a string.
Only associative arrays.
Only associative arrays. You wouldn't use quotes anyway on numeric arrays, right? Because you don't put quotes around a number. So you treat them as if they were, well, that'll just confuse you. Just don't use the quotes if you're already within quotes. Because the quotes are to say, treat this as a literal string rather than as some reserved word. But since you're already within a string, you've already put the quotes around the big part outside, then you don't have to put quotes around the part inside.
If you really want to keep the quotes there, you could just do
Yes, you could. And that would work.
What about the dollar sign below?
Wait a second, would that work?
Yeah, I did it
I
on
don't-
a couple days.
I use that on mine.
And it worked?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you can actually put variables within quotes, so I've always concatenated this whole time.
Yep. And if you watched my videos, if you've been watching my videos, I went through some of this in one of the videos. But I'm not making the videos a requirement. If you can solve the problems without watching the videos, that's fine. So that's why I wanted to make sure to go over this. So we've now talked about strings. Now we need to talk about CRUD. Okay? I'll keep saying that as long as I keep getting a laugh out of you, okay? All right. CRUD is just a very simple acronym which stands for create, and then the R stands for either retrieve or read. The U stands for update, and the D stands for either delete or destroy. You can see that somebody was really desperate to come up with a funny acronym because everything they said, they made sure they keep the acronym going there. Come on, work with me here. There we go. So now we have, this is the way that you are going to think about how to edit your database. When you create a database and you are doing a project to be able to edit the various tables within your database, you need to think, have I created CRUD yet? And if you haven't created CRUD, then you're not done. You've got to be able to create new records in your table, and until you've got some way of doing that as a good user interface into your table, you're not done. You've got to have some way of being able to retrieve or read your records. So there's got to be some way for people to get the data out and look at what the data is in your table. Otherwise, what's the point? You keep throwing data in there, but you never look at it. That's a pointless system, right? You've got to have some way of updating. So you want to change the value of what's already there. You've got to have some way of deleting and destroying. Now, I can't tell you how many times I get on the web and I go out to somebody's website and I'm working away and I think, oh man, this is a great application and I need to delete. That's funny. Where's the delete function? And I go and I look for the advanced and I look for this and that and other thing, and there's no way to delete. Well, they didn't make CRUD. You've got to make CRUD or you don't have a decent database application. You've got to have all four of these capabilities. And so, practically speaking, you should also, in most cases, you should have some way of listing and searching your data as well. In most cases, not always. But you've got to think about this for every table within your database. So I just created something for my wife over at the GDQ K-8, and the idea is they're creating requests that teachers do for new books. Then they create purchases, they have groups, they have departments, they have all these things. For every single one of my tables, I've got about 25 tables within my database. Every one of those tables, I've got to think, have I done create? Have I done retrieve? Have I done update? Have I done destroy? And on your project, you need to think that through. Do I have capability for them doing this? Do I have capability for doing this? While you're developing, a lot of times, you'll just go into PHPMyAdmin, right? That's a real easy way to do the create. Well, I'll just go into the insert side. Great, during development, fine. But your project is not done, your application is not complete until somebody can do it through a regular user interface. All right, so that's what the CRUD is.
Isn't regular?
Huh?
So PHPMyAdmin isn't a regular interface?
No, it's not. That is an under, how would you say it? It's a low-level way of interacting directly with the database. You want to create an actual user interface that doesn't say insert into table students. You want to have something that says, please enter your first name so we can store your student name, or something like that. Something that makes sense to a user, not to a technician. You're always writing for users rather than writing for programmers or systems
So how
analysts.
does this work? So you're saying, what website are we using this?
The website that you're going to create.
So we have to be able to create records for our database. We also have to be able to.
No, we have to let other people do it.
Yeah, but like for mine,
Uh-huh.
my database uses high scores and stuff. I don't want them to delete their high score. Delete your
If they want to delete their profile, you
Yeah.
can let them.
Yes,
There you go.
and there's your example of that. But the high score, if you say, I have thought this through, and I don't want them to be able to delete their high score, their low score, something like that, then that's a deliberate decision you're making, and that makes sense. And there will be times when you break the CRUD. But most of the time, at least you need to have thought about it. This is the standard that's expected. The standard for operations plus list and search are most of the time needed. So then do I need to, for instance, high scores? Well, it doesn't make sense to store all those high scores out there but never give an opportunity to list them, right? Or to search for them. Where do I stand in the high score listing? So it's actually scrudal once you get all the search and list on the front end of CRUD. Okay, you end up with scrudal.
What does the U stand for again?
Update. You can search for this anywhere on the web.
Isn't
Search for CRUD database.
Do better score.
And
It's the same as create and destroy though.
Or
It can be, but sometimes you've got their graduating year and you just want to update their first name. If you destroy it and recreate it with just this, then you've lost this over here. So you want to have some way of updating the existing record with just the pieces with just the columns that you're choosing.
Well, you could just have them enter all their information again.
You could. Wouldn't that be a pain in the neck? Okay. So here is my system that I put up there. Here are all the requests that various teachers have put in there. And you'll notice all these things over on the left side. New request. What's that in CRUD? Create. List departments. Okay? Departments is a related table. It's related to my requests. And so I've got the L of scrudal. I've got the L here. I've got the C for departments. I've got the L for subdepartments, the create for subdepartments, the L for priorities, the create for priorities. Now, over here, you'll notice I've got the U, I've got an edit sign here, and I've got the D for the requests. And if I come in here to list departments, you'll see that I've also got the same kind of thing over here, where I can view, that's my R, I can edit, that's my U, I can D, that's my delete, and up here is my new department, that's my C.
Where's your search?
I don't have search in this because I determined I'm not going to have enough departments that it's ever worth having it, and so list suffices and I don't have to have search. Okay? But if I started getting a longer and longer list of departments so that it didn't comfortably fit on a screen or two, then I would have to come up with some kind of search. Okay? So that's what CRUD is all about. Any questions about CRUD? You want me to talk about dry CRUD now?
Don't repeat.
Dry stands for don't repeat yourself. All right? And it is very, very important when you are coding as much as possible to avoid redundant code. Normalization, that reduces redundancy in your data, but now I'm talking about on the code side. In the code, if you find that you're going to do something up here, and you're going to do the same thing here, and you're going to do the same thing here, take that out, put it in a function, and just call the function here, here, and here. Does that make sense? That's an important thing. You'll learn the value of it. I'll probably have to repeat it 3 or 4 more times before it starts to really enter in, and you begin to see the value of it. I'll give you an example. I had in my by heart program, I just found out today that a bunch of my students are cheating, so I had to go back in and figure out how to make them not cheat anymore. Not your sister. Your sister didn't. Not your brother. Your brother didn't. I don't think I have any other students.
How do you cheat on by heart?
You just press enter a whole bunch of times, and it records as a review. But you didn't really do the review. All right. So I had to go back through and I had to figure out what I was doing there. And guys, listen up. And I found that when I was making my list, I had done 2 separate queries of my data. But I created my SQL almost identically up here and almost identically down here. Now I had to make some changes. Every change I made, I had to go up here and make it down here, and then I had to come down here and make it down here. Then I had to go up here and make it up here, then I had to come down here and make it down here. It was a pain in the neck.
That was so fun.
If I had designed my code properly, I would have done it one time, I would have kept my code dry, and now today when I was doing this, it would have taken me half as much time to make the changes that I needed to do. So whenever possible, don't repeat code. Separate it off and put it into a function.
Can we repeat it if we want to repeat it?
Yeah, if you're a masochist and like pain, I have no problem with
Oh,
that.
that was one of our.
But we were masochists when we came to this class.
That was the problem when I was using the PHP and SQL together in the past project. I didn't understand what the statements of $row were completely doing, so I just kept repeating them. I didn't need to.
Okay. And that's all part of learning where you go. And when I go back and look at projects that I did at the beginning of my working with PHP, I blush and I say, oh my word, I can't believe I did that. That was so stupid. That was such a newbie mistake. Well, a year from now, you're going to look back at your early project and you're going to say, oh, that's embarrassing. It's okay. We're learning.
It was embarrassing.
Okay? So,
Yeah, if it works, how is it embarrassing?
The code.
you'll see. Yeah, you'll see.
I already know, my first one, the forum, yeah, that was just a mess. It's just Frankenstein of a code.
Exactly. And you begin to see beauty and elegance in your code. And as you look at beauty and elegance, you look at another one and you say, oh, she's an ugly dog. All right? And it's embarrassing that you were responsible for making that. Okay? So there is definitely working code that is not something to be proud of, and elegant code, which is something you can be proud of.
Even if it's not working.
No, you still want it to work. Okay. Any questions about the assignment that was, I think it was due today, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Or was it due last Thursday?
It was due last Thursday, but nobody finished, so.
Okay. I've gotten some turned in. Does anybody need more time on that?
Oh, do we have to email it?
Yeah, do you have to email me something?
Yeah, go ahead and email when you're done, so that I know. Okay?
Does mine both.php count?
Yeah, yours is fine.
Both up.
He put both of his in one,
Yeah, I saw that.
in one thing.
So what do we put? All done?
Yeah.
Just copy all the code and email the code.
No, I'm not interested in the code.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not grading you on elegance. All right. So in this case, I'm encouraging you to write Frankenstein. Okay. I'm not really encouraging you that direction, but I'm going to give you full credit for Frankenstein because you're getting started in coding. So that's okay. So next thing I want to talk about, project. And we're coming down to the end here. I need projects from everybody. So by Thursday, I would like to have an email telling me what your plan is, what it is that you want to do. And I'd like it to be, I'd like you to word it kind of like how I've worded the assignments. I'd like you to carefully explain what it is that you plan on doing. So I expect you to take at least half an hour, probably an hour, carefully writing up in detail exactly what the specifications are for what you're planning on doing.
Yeah, that new ideas.
Yeah, I sent you 4 ideas, right?
Oh, you did?
Didn't I send 4 ideas?
Yeah, you sent us 2 minutes. 5 actually.
5 of them I sent? Yeah.
Okay.
So if you don't have any preference, I'll tell you what my preference is for you to do. My preference for you to do is the parent-teacher sign-up. Okay, I think that's within bounds.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Within bounds for the scope. You're not going to spend 100 hours on it, but it gives about the right level of what's possible out there. Okay.
What about a simple game? Like
Christopher has
C++.
asked to do. Like what?
Like with C++ or whatever you need. Wouldn't it be in C++?
No, I want to see it in PHP,
Okay.
and JavaScript.
Okay.
Because that's what we're doing. You can do a simple game, but you're going to have to explain to me what it is, and be aware that in general, doing a game is you have to get quite a bit going before the game does anything. Christopher asked me if he could do, what was it, tank something or another?
Yeah, then I decided against it.
And I said, you are fully capable of doing that project. It's probably going to take you about 200 hours. Like, oh, okay. So then
I started doing it.
He started doing it.
Nope.
And then he saw how much time it was going to take. And so he's lowered it down where he's going to try and do a Pong. Do you guys know what Pong is?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a much simpler kind of a thing. I don't know if he's going to try to put gravity into it or not. Each of those things that you add in becomes that much more complicated. If he can get something where it just bounces the ball back and forth 50% of the time, I'll be impressed. Okay? Because it's very hard to figure out when you're bringing one graphic into touch with another graphic and how you calculate the right angle to go back off in a different direction. There's all kinds of math that goes into that kind of stuff. Graphics is very, very math intensive. If you want to do it, I got no problem, but be aware you're taking a great big bite. Please don't choke.
Let's
Okay.
say our project takes more than 100 hours,
Okay?
and we have it listed so that, like, you do the, like, for my project, I want to have a registration thing, and I'll set up my registration so you can register,
Right.
and you'll see a certain page. And then I'm going to add maybe the game, and then I'll add the high score list. And somewhere in there, I'll add a arrow key fixture or something.
Sure.
But if I do that in that order, like, what if I go like 2 of them?
Like you bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
What I would suggest doing is doing what's required for my class, and I require CRUD. All right. So make sure that you get your CRUD done first, and part of your CRUD might be, rather than doing a game to update the high score, you might have a little form in there that says, if you played the game, what score would you have liked to get? And then somebody could type in the score that they want. You press enter, and that updates the database. All right? And then, if you have time, then you implement the game and actually give them a score so that the score comes in automatically. See how that works? So that's what I would suggest doing. Your project, between your mission, should you choose to accept it, or if you choose not to accept it, you're still stuck with it. Between now and whenever it is, mid-June, the end of school, is to put together a database with at least 5 tables, and to implement CRUD on each one of them, unless you can adequately defend to me why you don't need one of those 4 elements. And if you need listing or searching on one of them, then I expect that to be in
At
there.
least 5 tables.
Yeah, you could do 4 to 5, something like that.
But I don't know how to get people to enter data into a different, through PHP or a form in HTML to actually change the SQL. I know how to do it the other way around.
Yeah, I know how to show it, but I don't know how to enter it into it.
How do you use PHP to change the information in the database?
Okay. Let me ask you, when we did our assignment, what was it?
Update.
Okay, remember in that initial assignment I gave you, I asked you to send me an email that included examples of insert statements, that included examples of update statements, included examples of delete statements, and then finally I took more time on the select because that was special, and that's the most common thing that you're going to use. But these 3 here are the way that you are going to do it.
I know the statements, but how do you format that in the code?
Just the same way. Just like you took select, that was the same as what you did in PHP MyAdmin. You put it in a string, and you ran a query, and then you retrieved or fetched the records.
Oh.
You're going to take your
It's not that
update, insert, and delete, put it in a string, and run the query. You don't have to do a fetch on these others. There's no concept of a fetch.
So wait, how do I
You
do
just
it?
do the query, and it does it.
Oh, so you just
The
say,
query is a function.
you just say,
PDO arrow query, remember?
what do you say?
Update this
If
thing from
is
this
submit
thing
is
where
done.
this equals this.
Is submit,
And the
Then-
drawer.
run,
Yeah.
Some of them are
Then
based
do
on
this
form.
query.
but how do you say do this?
Actually, I think it's
You
update
construct a
this
string
thing
which
to
contains the
that.
query, and then you call the
From here
function
where
query,
this equals
the
that.
PDO query.
It's a function, got it.
It's the same function you've been using. You've been using it for select.
Yeah,
And then you've been returning a statement, and then you've been fetched. You've been fetching based on that statement. Now you're just going to do the query, and that's going to do the insert or the delete or the update. You've already been doing it. You've just been doing it with select rather than the other 3 kinds. Okay? You've been doing RUD, and now I'm teaching you to do CUD. Okay? Okay, thank you very much, and
That code.
have a great day, Joshua.